of their income in child care. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, when asked about how the economy is doing, asks how the stock market is doing, asks how are rich people doing, to the point that his first major achievement in his mind was to pass that tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, which is going to lead to a $2 trillion deficit for us to deal with. There's a clear choice. Because you see, Fayetteville, when we get this thing done on Tuesday, Joe Biden and I are about to get rid of that tax bill. And invest that money in working families. Invest that money in our students who are coming from families that make less than $125,000, so you can go to a 4-year public school, including an HBCU, public or private, for free. Joe Biden and I will invest that money in our infrastructure, building back up our roads and our bridges, investing in renewable energies and the creation of jobs. There's a real clear choice in this election. Among the crises we are dealing with is a long overdue reckoning on racial injustice in America. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who, as a student of American history and a truth teller, has the courage to speak the phrase, "Black Lives Matter." Joe Biden, who recognizes that this virus, COVID, has had such racially desperate impact that blacks and Latinos are 3 times as likely to get it and twice as likely to die from it. And you heard him talk about it on the debate stage, that 1 in 1,000 black people have had contracted and died from COVID. And by the end of the year, if there's no control over it, 1 in 500 black Americans will have died from this. Joe Biden knows we need to deal with the racial disparities, not only in our health care system, we need to deal with the criminal justice system, and in so doing, reform it such that we decriminalize marijuana and expunge the records of people who have been convicted. That we get rid of the private prisons and we get rid of cash bail, because it is an economic justice issue as much as it is a criminal justice issue. Joe Biden, who says we will ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if that were the case. We will require a national registry of police officers who break the law, because it's not right that you do it in one place, you get fired, and then you move to another place and get hired. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, during a debate in front of 70 million Americans, refused to condemn a white supremacist and a white supremacist group, and then doubled down and said, stand back and stand by. And Fayetteville, it's important to remember, it's not like that was a one-off. Remember, he came into office challenging the legitimacy of America's first black president. Remember Charlottesville. Folks were peacefully protesting racial injustice. A young woman died in that protest. And on the other side, there were neo-Nazis wearing swastikas, carrying tiki torches, spewing racial and anti-Semitic epithets. And Donald Trump says, find people on both sides. Donald Trump, who called Mexicans rapists and criminals, who, as one of his first orders of business, put in place a Muslim ban. We are better than this. We deserve better than this. We deserve a president who understands, like Joe does, regardless of where you come from, where you live, your race, your gender, the language your grandmother speaks. The vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. We deserve a president. We deserve a president who understands the measure of the strength of a human being is not based on who you beat down. It's based on who you lift up. We deserve better. And then we're dealing with a climate crisis. So, you know, I come from California. Let me tell you, the West Coast is burning. From California to Oregon to Washington over to Colorado, these wildfires, I've met with families who've been evacuated, never to return to their home. I've met with firefighters who are fighting fires while their own homes are burning. In fact, my brother-in-law is a firefighter. You know, you look at the Gulf Coast states, how they've been battered. Do you know there have been 5 named storms this year already? And you name a storm because it's that bad. In the Midwest, floods to the point that farmers have lost a whole season of crops. And so you've got Joe who says, hey, we need to deal with this. We need to embrace the science. We need to see that the clock is ticking. We need to have timelines like by 2050 we have net zero emissions. We need to understand that when we invest in the infrastructure to save our climate, that's also an investment in creating millions of jobs. Joe understands it's also a civil rights issue when you take into account of all of the places in our country that have poor air quality, 70% of the people who live there are people of color. Joe understands these issues. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, when asked about the wildfires in California, so the journalist asked something like, so these wildfires are happening, and you know, the scientists are telling us that these extreme weather conditions, you know, the human behaviors are contributing. What do you have to say, Mr. President? The President of the United States, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the United States, responded, science doesn't know. Like, what is that? Well, no, Mr. President, science does know. And so does the leading scientific magazine that endorsed Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. So there's a lot going on. And that brings me to why I'm here with all of you leaders this evening. You know, you've probably been approached like I have by folks who say and ask, why should I vote? Well, I think there are 3 reasons where everybody has to vote, why they have to vote. 1, honor the ancestors. Honor the ancestors. All those folks who marched and shouted. We just lost one of the greatest American heroes in Congressman John Lewis. He hears you. John Lewis, who shed his blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge for our right to vote. Honor the ancestors. You know, this year we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. Those suffragettes who in their white were marching and shouting for a woman's right to vote. But let's always be true to the facts of history. Not until 1965 could black women vote. So let's acknowledge that as well. But a reason to vote is, let's honor all those folks who sacrificed with a dream that would be here, that we would be here at this moment with this opportunity in our hands. Reason number 2, everything is at stake. Everything. Everything. You know, I look at North Carolina. One of the issues that is at stake is we have so many of our babies, children in public schools here, in Title I schools, who are not getting the resources that they deserve. Joe and I are going to triple Title I funding, understanding the God-given capacity of our children, but the need for the resources to go along with it. There's so much at stake, fighting for all people and all working people to have paid sick leave, paid family leave, respecting the dignity of work. There's so much at stake. Number 3. So I've been traveling the country. I've been here now more than once. I've been here a few times over the last year. I was just in Texas and Florida. I'm heading to Pennsylvania tomorrow. I've been everywhere. And I don't have to tell North Carolina, because you know more than most, that especially after 2013, when the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act with a case called Shelby v. Holder, about 24 states, including this state, put in place laws to suppress our vote, put in place laws to prevent or make it difficult for black folks, brown folks, indigenous folks, students to vote all over the country. Here in North Carolina, you all remember, the Court of Appeal reviewed the law and said it was designed with, quote, surgical precision to prevent black folks from voting. So one has to ask, why is this happening? Why, for example, are they messing with the post office? I mean, the post office. The nicest people in the world work for the post office. Why are they messing with the post office? So one has to ask, why are so many powerful people trying to make it difficult or confusing for us to vote? And I believe the answer is this: they know our power. They know our power. They know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. So let us never let anybody take our power from us. Never let anybody try to sideline us, try to silence us. No. We know our power. And at election time, that includes our powerful voices being expressed through our vote. And my final point then is this: this moment will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, others, they will look at us in our face, in our eyes, each one of us, and they will ask us, where were you? Where were you at that moment? And what I know is that we will tell them so much more than just how we felt. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them we were hanging out in the parking lot in Fayetteville State. We will tell them that we organized and we mobilized. We will tell them we emailed and we called and texted folks so much they got sick of us, but we knew they'd get over it. We will tell them we reminded people to honor the ancestors. We will tell them that we knew the stakes were high. We will tell them we never let anybody silence us. And we will tell them we elected Joe Biden, the next president of the United States. Thank you, Fayetteville.